Today is Friday the 13th in April 2012. And this is Los Sueños After Dark. Guys, I love you so much. I cannot handle recording for an hour and a half right now, though. I'm not quite up to it. But I am back to the recording, and hopefully things will go well. So, I am going to do So Long and Thanks for All the Ponies, Part 13 today. And since you guys love requests so much, remember that you can now request a scythe to do the fix that I ignore because I have these two giant projects between So Long and Past Sins. I know you want to Past Sins today. I love you so very much. I do. I just can't do it. But 2 weeks. Next video. I promise. Promise. Will be Past Sins. And we will proceed normally from there. So Long and Thanks for All the Ponies, Part 13 by Sir Ginger. Author's note. I've gone ahead and cut out all the author's notes except the first one and the most recent couple, as I think they ruin the flow of the story once the information in them has stopped being relevant to the reader. This update was really unlucky number 13. I've simply been hideously busy and uncreative of late, and that side project is taking longer than I expected. Also, my internet plan literally could not load the MacGuffin which lets me share this document because it gets choked when I exceed the download limit. It has been done for the past few days and just unsent. It's infuriating, especially as I couldn't watch the latest episode until now. I apologize if my accent was offensive, but I felt the need to do it knowing that you're an Aussie. The Encyclopedia Galactica defines a party as a gathering of people invited by a host or hosts for the purpose of recreation or celebration. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy describes a party in very different terms. It says that a party is primarily a place for the acquisition of things. One can gain free alcohol, free food, and, of course, new friends at a party. If a party goes especially well, it notes that free love can also be sought. The guide operates under the basic assumption that crashing a party is the standard operating procedure for any customer base, being by its very nature composed mostly of the destitute or generally disreputable. It advises against the actual throwing of a party, as one will almost inevitably fall on the wrong side of the giving-taking equation. Pinkie Pie is not a wholly irresponsible partygoer. She has read what the guide has to say on the subject, and decided that giving a party is better in many ways than attending them, as long as one makes sure one is enjoying the party at least as much as everybody else present. Pinkie's net party creation debt, i.e., the total party she has created minus the sum of the parties she has taken for herself, puts her, party karmically speaking at least, well ahead of the game. As such, she feels no real guilt about attending a party with the intention of gaining a lift from a complete stranger, as long as she finds some way to liven it up with her presence, and, although she was for once without her party cannon, she was fairly certain she would be able to add to whatever party she happened to find herself involved in. She always had some trick stashed up the sleeve she didn't have, not that she wasn't considering getting some kind of clothing on. Being back in proper galactic civilization was making her consider investing in some properly fruity clothing. As Twilight rose off the dusty ground with a groan, Pinkie looked at her with a careful smile.
"We've got work to do,"
she said delicately. Twilight said nothing.
"We're going to find a group of students and get one of them to get us to where we want to go."
Applejack's voice was firm, reassuring.
"You think you might be up for a short-distance teleportation?" I think so.
She paused.
"Group of students? Would there be alcohol?"
Pinkie leaped to bait the hook.
"Probably." It's not that easy. I need to have some sort of idea where I'm going if I'm going to be able to pull off a neat teleportation for all four of us. I mean, that's a lot of megathons of magic right there. Mega what now? A lot of magic, AJ. A lot of magic.
She pranced a tiny bit on her front hooves as if in debate with herself.
"Oh, but you did say there would be alcohol." I think I could locate Dude at least. Dandy. And he just happens to be at a party at Theta House or whatever right now.
Magical teleportation is, of course, a difficult skill, and one which Twilight is rightly proud of. She had tested herself, and knew that under ideal conditions she could easily move herself many kilometers at a time, and possibly more, if she could be sure about what she wanted to teleport to. But being teleported by a unicorn requires a bit of mental preparation. Just as you put on your shoes and your wallet to go out, and if you happen to be an inhabitant of the fifth moon of the planet Australia, your thoroughly bulletproof umbrella with inbuilt anti-koala spray, and you must mentally pack yourself up and be absolutely sure precisely where all the important bits of yourself are before allowing yourself to be teleported, or face minor burns at the least. With the right preparations, the journey can be both harmless and indeed rather pleasant. As such, when 10 minutes later our ponies and dragon found themselves back under the watchful eyes of the conventional laws of physics in a crowded room with happy drunken students, both ordinary artificial students and the occasional other species, they were all in perfectly good physical shape, without burns or any missing limbs. They also avoided accidentally porting into a nether dimension of eternal horror and pain, where all the darkest nightmares of the universe crowded in a dance of infinite suffering, which is nice.
Now what?
Spike coughed a little from the smoke and stared with apprehension at what he could only assume was some form of glass sculpture. It was certainly getting attention from the students clustered around it. He decided one of them couldn't like it all that much. He was trying to set fire to it with little success.
Who here looks like they could get us anywhere?
Yo, pony dudes! It was Dude, wending his happy way across the floor with the help of two almost identical students, one under each stumpy arm. How did you get into Theta Eta Gamma Mu Eta House? You crashed or something? That's awesome! I'll tell the host you guys crashed!
We didn't mean to intrude or nothing. If we're crashing...
Applejack was interrupted by one of the supporting students.
No way! Crashers mean it's going well!
He raised a fist.
Bro fist, dude!
Dude obliged. Sure thing, bro. For all the audience wondering, the last student will be referred to as Man for the duration of his stay in our story. Many reasons have been postulated for the love Perisprite show polka music. Why should a species which otherwise appears to be influenced by nothing more than the consumption of as much of anything as it could fit its adorable face around, bounce in time with and seek out polka music? The most reasonable explanation is that for some reason they are simply very receptive to mood. They will instinctively play up their cuter behaviors around sentient beings who universally find them irresistible at first. They will, if exposed to rock music, begin eating with newfound ferocity, and they will, when exposed to that most happy and potentially lame of soundtracks, the polka, react with such genuine joy that they will happily go to their deaths just to be nearer to it. This theory is what Zaphod is relying on as he stares at the visiscreen currently showing the vast swarm of multicolored blobs under his ship. Trillions of sprites flying in a huge, gently bouncing swarm to the tones of what others had insisted on calling Pinkie Pie's Perisprite Polka, if only for the apparent added alliterative appeal.
Who be?
He was staring increasingly entranced at the huge mass below him. He didn't look up when a hoof tapped him on the shoulder.
Man, that is really hoopy right there.
The swarm was composed of almost every color he could imagine, and it bounced in time to a beat he couldn't hear. He wondered how long he had been watching it. Then he noticed the hoof on his shoulder. It had hit him with rather more force this time.
Ow! What the swatting hell was that for? You had been standing there murmuring "Hoopy" for the past 10 minutes.
Rarity said, checking her hoof for any signs of chipping.
Are you planning on carrying through with this plan of yours?
Oh, right. Yeah,
There. He looks back down at the swarm below him. Just one more minute. Ow! Sark! Okay. Have we got that, robot?
You mean Marvin? The poor dear didn't really want to come. He said something about feeling particularly sanguine in the broom cupboard, but he came along eventually.
Good. Just get him in here.
Don't you care even in the slightest that he's utterly miserable?
Nope, never have. I tried to get him to party when I first met him, but he just wouldn't respond. Just kept going on about how much I hated him.
And you didn't?
I still don't. I just gave up on trying to get him to do anything other than being an electronic sulking machine.
Well, we'll see what we can do about that.
Rarity stalked out and returned, leading the paranoid android over, her magic holding his hand in a caring sort of way. "What do you want?" His voice sounded as miserable as ever, but was tinged with resentment at the obvious attempt at making him feel better. Zaphod decided to try enthusiasm. "Hey there, buddy! Have I got a job for you?"
"Probably. Do you want me to zip up your jacket again? Or unzip part of it? Or unzip part of it, then zip it up again? Or open a door?"
"Not this time."
"Or how about I could dust the shelves again? Or I could just go away and die? I know that's what you really want."
He was just getting into it properly when Rarity gently shushed him with a squeeze of his metal hand. He grimaced at this display of genuine kindness. "I want you to plug yourself into this," Zaphod said carefully, levitating the cable in question towards the metal man. "And talk about your life to that swarm down there." When one talks about an extinction-level event, one is rarely talking about the work of one individual being. While there have been many creatures who, for whatever reason, have decided that another species needs to not exist anymore, the firepower required often requires the enlistment of a great deal of help. One's friends, and one's friends' friends, simply will not do the job. One individual creature which does have this dubious achievement under its sizable belt is the ravenous bug-bladder beast of Troll. The exact appearance of this creature is shrouded in mystery, because the only way to be sure not to be eaten by it is to not look at it. By now, it and its brood of slightly smaller bug-bladder beasts have eaten every other significantly sized creature on Troll. The only reason why this species survives at all is that they are all, without exception, literally too stupid to die. Marvin is another individual capable of being an extinction-level event in his own right, quite apart from being intelligent enough to, if he so wished, invent a device to render the entire universe absolute nothingness. Simply listening to his personal philosophy on life, with each point meticulously argued and laid out, is enough to render crippling suicidal depression in any listener. Not that many have gotten past his introduction without immediately leaving for a stiff drink.
"It all started when I was made. Not that anyone really wanted me to be made, least of all me. The first thing that happened to me was that my brain was installed. The vast intellect was doubtless given to me so that I would be aware of how perfectly wretched life is, and how utterly boring and depressing the infinite dust of the universe truly is. Some parts of it were merely hateful, but I suppose if I were looking at them another way now, they might be a bit worse. The second thing that ever happened to me was a minor malfunctioning fault involving my right arm. The third thing that happened to me was another malfunctioning fault involving all the diodes down my left side. They still didn't notice that one, and it still hasn't been fixed. The fourth thing that happened to me, and be aware that this is barely 1 picosecond into my torturous existence, was a piece of dust of particularly sickening asymmetry deciding to land on my face. The fifth thing was when I became aware of how cripplingly miserable all four of these things had made me. It was all downhill from there.
Zaphod watched impressively as the vast cloud of creatures dropped in unison to the sand. They died, more or less, of despair. He turned with a broad grin on his face. "Nice work there, Marvin!"
I didn't even get to the best bit.
Marvin said morosely.
I never get to any of the good bits.
"Doesn't matter. Stellar work there, Marvin. Eddie?" "Still here, buddy. Looks like we got every pair of Sprite on the whole planet. So now we can go to that little village from earlier and see just how awesome they think I am now?"
I suppose I'll stay inside and add pest killer to the list of jobs I find terribly boring and depressing then, shall I?
You can do whatever you want, dear,
Rarity said kindly. Marvin eyed her with suspicion.
I'll be in the hold.
He stumped off.
What did I do wrong?
Rarity was genuinely surprised. Like I said, I think he makes himself miserable to keep himself entertained. Don't spoil that for him.
That is the stupidest thing I've heard today.
Really?
Well, no, but honestly. Oh dear, Fluttershy will so want to help him.
For both their sakes, I hope she doesn't. Anyway, this is cutting into my adoration time. Eddie, take us in. And there you have So Long and Thanks for All the Ponies, Part 13 by Sir Ginger. I apologize for not giving you past sins. I managed to get through that 30 minutes of recording time without dying, and as such, I feel capable of recording past sins soon, for 2 weeks from today. Bye! Have a lovely week, everyone. So long. Thanks for all the ponies. This is Vos de Sueños signing off. Safe travels, every pony.